This is the ultimate travel companion, and I'm about to go on my very first series of flights with just the Steam Deck. I'm very excited for this. I got 4 flights coming up, 2 weeks of travel and vacation, and I'm only going to be bringing this bad boy, which means I finally get to tackle some of the backlog games that I've been saving specifically for long travel, which I'll get to here in a minute. But I first want to just talk about how amazing the Steam Deck is. If you don't have one, and for whatever reason, if it is in your budget, then amazing. I cannot tell you how amazing this console has been, even just for at-home play. This thing it's been so fun. For any game that I can genuinely run on the Steam Deck, I do. I have a great PC setup behind me, but I find myself wanting to be cozy with a blanket on a Saturday morning, laying in bed with the Steam Deck way more than I do want to be sitting here at my office. Despite it being a really cozy environment, I just find that having it in a portable form factor has been so much fun. So first of all, let's just take a minute and appreciate what the Steam Deck can actually do. I've got, and this might be different for each of you, but I've got a very long library here on Steam, and that's part of the buying addiction and being a gamer. But that means I also get to have a ton of games that are now in a portable form factor that I genuinely, before having a Steam Deck, couldn't really enjoy in that form factor. So I've been loving it. I've been an owner of a Steam Deck now for about 3 months, so I'm sort of late to the general release. I have the OLED model. It's been great. I honestly can't praise it enough. There's so many great features to actually have baked into this console, and very few games that I've personally played from my library have been problematic and can usually be mitigated through tweaking different settings. Granted, I'm not running like super high-end games. And again, I think if I were, I would probably just come into my office and play those kinds of games. But just at a very high level, I've got about 50 games installed on my Steam Deck right now, and all of them are like, they run great. They run fantastic. Just as a quick, just rundown of what I got games like Axiom Verge, Blasphemous, I've got Brotato, Core Keeper, Koromon, Crosscode, Cult of the Lamb, Cuphead, Darkest Dungeon, Dave the Diver, Divinity Original Sin 2, which is just a freaking amazing game, Don't Starve, Skyrim, Into the Gungeon, Everhood, Final Fantasy X, love that game, Firewatch, Gadonia, Graveyard Keeper, Grim Dawn. It just goes on. I got tons of games. Little Nightmares 2, which has been really fun to play. I'm just now playing it for the first time. So many games I have on my Steam Deck, and it's just been awesome. It's been awesome. Now, again, your library might be different than mine, and depending on how many games you currently own on Steam versus a different platform may also, be a deciding factor if you actually want to buy a Steam Deck. I've been buying Steam games for years, so it just made sense for my use case. There's other consoles like the ROG Ally. They have a new one coming out soon, I'm fairly certain. I would say that it's probably a comparable experience in terms of bringing your precious games portable. I think that's a really great selling feature. But for me personally, the Steam Deck, it just sits in my hands so well, and I've got this special Skull & Co case kind of built onto mine. It's a little grip case which allows me to kind of set it up like this and let it stand up on its own. And here, I'll turn around so you can see. You can stand it up, which is great for me because I can shoot videos of my Steam Deck very, very easily. I also got some thumb grips on here, which are just very, very cozy and comfortable. Again, I'm not sponsored or associated with Skull & Co at all, but I've been really loving their products. So Skull & Co, if you ever see this video, sponsor me. I would really appreciate it. But objectively speaking, the grips are great on this thing. The Steam Deck is honestly fire. I love the, I don't know what these are called, the little joy pads essentially. And then you got programmable back buttons, which is so fun. There's also, gyro, I'm saying that right, gyro controls in here. And I noticed with some games that when I just hover my thumb on, there's like a sensor in here. I think I experienced that with Portal actually. There's a sensor that when my thumb is just resting on it, I can move the camera in a different kind of way. Anyway, I'm getting too granular here. What I'm trying to say is the Steam Deck has been an amazing investment, and honestly, I think this is probably the coziest console to travel with. And I got a lot of consoles, and if you're not new, if you're a return viewer to my channel, you'll know that I've got tons of emulation devices. I got my 3DS, We got a PS Vita. I don't think that's what I have on top of my head. I got a Switch, obviously, but honestly, this particular trip that I'm coming up on is gonna just be so fun with just the exclusivity of the Steam Deck. Now, I mentioned having some really awesome backlog games that I've been saving for this trip, and I would say that, you know, part of it is I've owned or will be owning some of these titles. They're on my wish list. I've wanted to buy them for a while, and I think that part of it is just I haven't had time to invest into it. So these games aren't new by any means, but they're going to be new to me, and I think that's really the selling point here. So the first game that I've actually saved for this trip is Subnautica, which I've heard described as underwater trauma simulator. I've seen some general gameplay clips, and I know that it's the general basis of the game. I just never played it personally, and I heard it's great on the Steam Deck. So I'm probably going to pick that up before I go on this trip. It's been on my wish list forever now, and I'm fairly certain it's even on sale currently as of the recording of this video. So I would love to pick that up, and I'll probably get just a ton of hours out of that game. Let me know if you have any recommendations or tips in the comments below. The next one, this was a big throwback, and yeah, I just never played this game, so some of you might laugh at me for that, which is totally appropriate. Fallout 4 New Vegas. I've always been a huge Skyrim lover. I loved Oblivion. I still need to get into Morrowind. It's on my backlog to do, but growing up, I just never got into the Fallout universe or the story themes. My brother, on the other hand, actually did. He went the other way on the fork of the road. He went the Fallout road. I went the Elder Scrolls road, and we still disagree to this day about what is better. So I grew up with playing, you know, like I said, Skyrim and Oblivion. He grew up playing all the Fallout games. So, you know, I want to lean into playing Fallout 4 New Vegas, which I heard runs great on the Steam Deck, and you can do a bunch of mods too, which is really cool. I'm probably going to spend some time modding some basic quality of life improvements, not any real new content mods, because I do want to experience the game fairly vanilla, but just some basic quality of life mods. And I've seen there's a few basically pre-built set list of mods you can use for Fallout 4 New Vegas. I'm excited to try it. I think that by being on an airplane with this and kind of locking myself into just a few games, it's going to force me to push through a game that honestly I've kind of turned my nose up on. I originally tried to play this title like once, like many years back, and I remember killed a cockroach or something like that, and then I was like, I'm bored, this is not for me. And honestly, that's not fair to a game. Like you need to give it more time. You need to give it some more maturation before you can really make that decision. So I'm going to give it a real fair shot this time. Really play through. And that's honestly what I'll probably end up playing for most of the flights. And I'll probably use Subnautica like once I land and that sort of thing. So I'm going to really be locked in, forced into playing Fallout 4 New Vegas. So if you have any tips for that game in particular, definitely let me know. I've heard that from a lot of people, New Vegas is the better experience. And again, I'm speaking just Reddit talk here. I don't even know if that's true. I've heard the New Vegas experience is sometimes even better than Fallout 4, which again, if that's a controversial take, I'm not speaking from experience. I'm just saying what I've read. So anyway, yeah, I'm excited to play New Vegas, especially on the flights. Now, the third title, I've talked about this in the videos. It's been on several of my list videos based on recommendations from all of you, and also from the Reddit lists that I've been pulling together for all of you who participate in those as well. And that is Shin Megami Tensei V. It looks absolutely beautiful. I love the Atlas library. Love Atlas games, and there's so many incredible Atlas titles. I have been going back and forth about playing Shin Megami Tensei 3 first or 5, but I think that by this trip coming up and having the Steam Deck kind of be my only travel companion, I've kind of decided to play SMT V first. So it'll be my first Shin Megami game. I've played Persona 4. I'm trying to start Persona 5 on Switch here very soon. So I'm used to the bones of the game, but I've heard that SMT games in general are a bit more punishing And the story of SMT, from what I've read, seems very, very interesting. So I'm excited to dive into that. Now you're probably thinking, dude, these are some really big games, which is exactly why I'm not doing like a top 5 or a top 10, because I got to be realistic, right? So what I imagine end up happening is Subnautica is the game that you play in between the other two heavy hitters. You know, you need to have like a cool off game, right? Where after you kind of been grinding for hours on one like really heavy game, you need like something to kind of just chill you out and, you know, kind of slow down a little bit. So I imagine Subnautica is the game that I'll use, you know, in between the other two big ones. I think if I'm going to prioritize anything in this list for like my big and time investment, it's going to be Fallout 4 New Vegas. I don't know. It's really outside of my typical genre. And, you know, when it comes to fantasy games, I really like the more the old style fantasy games that are more medieval in nature versus the more sci-fi fantasy. So I'm going to really try to force myself through and give it a fair rating and a fair review. And if I love it, I might even do a whole video on it and maybe even do a mod list video as well. So we'll see. And I think whatever remaining time there is to start SMT 5, and then probably when I get back, you know, continuing to spend time on SMT 5. So like I said, I got 4 flights total, 2 weeks off of work, which means I get to just lock in and have some real fun. So I'm excited, guys. And again, I cannot speak highly enough about the Steam Deck. Honestly, just both as a console, but also as a travel companion. And you know, like I said, I've been an owner now for several months, and it's been amazing. And so traveling with this is going to just be absolutely dope. And I love that when I bought the Steam Deck, it came with the travel case already. I really appreciate that. So thank you so much, Valve, for just thinking of the little things. I'm really, really excited for that. So yeah, this is going to be the best travel companion probably for my entire year. And I'm really, really stoked to try this. Again, I'll do some reviews of the games that I've mentioned in this video and let you guys know how it affected me and impacted me. But regardless, I really appreciate you guys hanging out with me today. It's really good to see you guys. It's good to hear from you. Drop me a comment, drop me a like, tell your grandma I said hi. And until the next video, I'll see you around, nerds. Take care. Bye.